Princess Liara stood at the edge of the high balcony of the royal palace, looking out at the endless violet skies of Xithuria. The city below sparkled like a field of stars, tall towers twisting into the air, humming softly with the energy of the planet's advanced technology. Yet despite the beauty and power surrounding her, Liara felt a weight pressing on her chest that no amount of luxury could ease. Today, her life would change forever, though not by her own choice. Her father, King Alurin, had summoned her to the council chamber that morning. The room was massive, its walls made of polished crystal, reflecting light in 1,000 directions. The council members sat in rigid formation, each wearing the flowing robes of Xithurian authority. Their expressions were a mixture of respect and expectation, and Liara sensed the tension before she even entered. At the center sat her father, regal and unyielding, holding the ancient scroll that dictated the future she had never asked for. "Princess Liara," the king said, his voice steady but heavy, "the time has come to fulfill your duty to Xithuria. The council has decided that you will marry a human from Earth. This union will strengthen our alliance and secure peace across the stars." She had heard tales of humans, small and fragile creatures, yet somehow remarkable in ways Xithurians could not fully understand. Some stories described their unpredictable creativity, their courage, and the unique spark of curiosity that had carried them to the stars despite their limited technology. But marriage. That was a path she had never chosen, and the thought of being bound to someone she did not even know filled her with anger. "I cannot accept this," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I am not a tool to be handed over for political convenience. I have spent my life learning, exploring, and preparing to lead Xithuria. How can you demand I give up my freedom for a union I did not choose? Their creativity and resilience can help us achieve things no single species can accomplish alone. This union is the symbol of a new era." She wanted to speak, to argue further, but the council had grown silent, waiting for her response. Their eyes were not unkind. They were simply convinced that tradition and duty outweighed personal choice. She left the chamber without another word, moving through the palace corridors with the grace of someone who had walked them 1,000 times, yet feeling like a stranger in her own home. The hallways were lined with holographic displays showing Xithuria's history, from its founding to the present day. Images of her ancestors stared down at her, and she wondered if they, too, had faced such impossible choices. Were they truly free, or had they also been bound by duty? Liara retreated to her private study, a room filled with books and artifacts from across the galaxy. She sank into her chair and opened a data pad, searching for every record of humans she could find. They were curious creatures, living on a small blue planet called Earth. Their art, their music, their literature, all spoke of a species that valued emotion, imagination, and freedom. They had achieved remarkable things despite limitations Xithurians could hardly imagine. And yet, for all their brilliance, they were so fragile in body, so unpredictable in behavior. How could she possibly marry one of them? As she read, a plan began to form in her mind. She would not simply accept this fate. If the council and her father wanted an alliance, she would find a way to achieve it on her own terms. She would meet the human herself, not as a pawn of political necessity, but as an equal, as a being curious about what they could learn from one another. Perhaps then she could turn a forced union into something meaningful. The next day, the human envoy arrived. Jason was young, with dark hair and bright, intelligent eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He was polite and respectful, but there was an energy about him that reminded Liara of the humans she had studied, curious, bold, and unafraid of the unknown. He bowed as he was led into the palace, unaware that Liara had already decided to rewrite the script of their meeting. Instead of greeting him with formality, Liara waited until the doors closed behind him and spoke in a voice that was both commanding and inquisitive. "Why do humans insist on exploring, on pushing limits, when it seems so dangerous? Why do you risk so much when so little is required?" "Because," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully, "we believe that understanding and growth are worth the risks. We value freedom, curiosity, and learning. Sometimes it seems reckless, but it is how we survive, how we thrive." Perhaps their unpredictability was a strength, not a weakness. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. "And yet, your leaders are not here to demand marriage or alliances. You do not force your people into arrangements. That is what makes collaboration meaningful. A forced agreement achieves nothing but resentment." The day turned to night, and Zethuria's twin moons rose, casting a soft silver glow over the city. Liara walked through the palace gardens, imagining what it would be like to leave, to venture into the stars on her own terms. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. She had trained for years in diplomacy, science, and strategy, but she had never defied her father in such a direct way. The consequences could be severe, and yet the idea of being trapped in a life not of her choosing felt far worse. In the quiet of her chambers, she began to prepare. She studied star maps, calculated routes, and reviewed Zethurian security protocols. She would not escape recklessly. She would use her knowledge, her intelligence, and her creativity to move with precision. If she could reach Jason, if she could show him that she sought understanding rather than obligation, perhaps they could create a new path together. Morning arrived, and with it, a sense of resolve. Liara donned her travel cloak, slipped through secret passages she had discovered in her studies, and made her way toward the human embassy. The city around her bustled with energy, unaware that its princess was moving not toward duty, but toward choice. She moved swiftly, avoiding patrols, bypassing security systems with a mix of skill and intuition that left her exhilarated. For the first time, she felt truly alive. At the embassy, Jason waited, unaware that his visitor would not be the obedient princess the council expected. Liara entered the chamber with confidence, her eyes bright with curiosity and determination. "I will not marry because you demand it," she said firmly. "But I am willing to learn, to explore, and to understand. If humans and Zethurians are to work together, it must be by choice, not by decree." "Then we are not so different," he said. "We both value choice, understanding, and respect. Perhaps this is how a true alliance begins." And in that moment, surrounded by the soft glow of alien technology and human curiosity, she felt the thrill of freedom, the power of choice, and the promise of what could come when two worlds met not through obligation, but through understanding. The city outside sparkled in the morning light, and Liara realized that the galaxy was far larger than the walls of her palace. She would not be confined by tradition or expectation. She would meet the challenge of the stars with courage, intelligence, and the unyielding desire to choose her own path. And in doing so, she would discover what it truly meant to be alive, and to be human, in spirit if not in form. Liara moved quietly through the hidden corridors of the palace, her mind focused on the task ahead. The sun had barely risen over Zethuria, but she had already made up her mind. She would not be forced into a marriage she did not want. Instead, she would take control of her destiny and meet the human diplomat, Jason, on her own terms. Her heart beat faster, a mixture of excitement and fear, but she reminded herself that this was the only way to prove she was more than a pawn of tradition. Reaching the human embassy required careful navigation. The streets of Zethuria were alive with activity, even at this early hour. Hover vehicles zipped between the towers, carrying workers, diplomats, and merchants to their destinations. Liara blended in, her travel cloak hiding her royal insignia, moving among the crowd with the grace and awareness of someone who had trained for this moment. She reached the embassy without incident. The building was smaller than the palace, but radiated an air of warmth and curiosity. Humans, she had learned, valued openness and dialogue. Unlike her own people, who respected precision and order above all else, humans thrived on improvisation and creativity. She wondered what it would be like to live in such a world, where rules were suggestions and curiosity guided action. Inside the embassy, Jason was already waiting. He had spent the night preparing, reading reports about Zethuria and its culture. He had been instructed to welcome the princess formally, but when he saw Liara enter, he realized she was not coming for ceremony. Her eyes were bright, alert, and filled with determination. He stood as she approached, unsure of what words would be appropriate. "Good morning, Princess Liara," he said politely. "I was not expecting such an early visit. I want to understand humans, and why my people believe a union with one of you is necessary. Yet your civilization has survived, expanded, and even reached other stars. How is this possible? How do you succeed despite your limitations? We do not have the strongest bodies or the most advanced technology compared to some species, but we make up for it with imagination and teamwork. When we face challenges, we find ways to overcome them, often in unexpected ways." Their strength was not in muscle or machinery, but in spirit. Their determination and willingness to experiment reminded her of the greatest explorers of Zethuria, though humans often faced far greater risks. "I wish to see this for myself," she said. "I want to learn not from reports or projections, but from experience." I will travel with you, visit your worlds, and see what humans are truly capable of. Only then can I understand whether this alliance has value beyond tradition. The journey may expose you to dangers you have not encountered before. Liara asked questions with relentless curiosity, and Jason answered with honesty. Sometimes they disagreed, and sometimes they laughed at the absurdity of their misunderstandings. Humans had humor, she realized, something Zithurians lacked in its pure form. It was not mockery or sarcasm, but a lightness that allowed them to endure hardships without losing hope. After hours of conversation, Liara felt ready for the next step. She would leave the embassy and explore the outskirts of the city, places rarely seen by royalty. Jason agreed to accompany her, though he warned that her advisors might attempt to intervene. Liara accepted the risk. She had no intention of returning to the palace until she had seen the truth for herself. They departed together, moving through the streets of Zithuria. The city was alive with the hum of technology and the chatter of diverse species. Markets displayed goods from across the galaxy, glowing fruits, fabrics that changed color with light, and tools that seemed almost magical. Liara observed it all, noting the ingenuity and creativity that humans had learned to harness even in small quantities. She asked questions, examined devices, and listened to stories from traders and travelers. Each encounter deepened her understanding of human adaptability and spirit. As they walked, a group of palace guards noticed their absence. They immediately recognized the princess and began to mobilize, but Liara had anticipated this. She led Jason through a series of alleyways and hidden passages, using her knowledge of the city's layout to stay ahead. She marveled at the thrill of movement, the rush of thinking and reacting in real time. It was freedom, and it invigorated her. By midday, they had reached a part of the city where humans had established cultural outposts. Here, humans worked alongside Zithurians, teaching, building, and sharing ideas. Liara observed them carefully. The humans were not as strong as Zithurians, nor did they have advanced technology, but their determination and creativity were evident in every action. They solved problems with innovation, communicated openly, and respected each other's choices. Liara turned to Jason. I see now. Humans are not fragile. You are different from my people, but in a way that complements them. Perhaps this is why the Council values a union, but it must be built on understanding, not obligation. Mutual respect and shared goals create lasting alliances. Forced agreements only lead to resentment. One human engineer explained how they had developed a device that could purify water on multiple planets, learning from mistakes and adjusting designs until it worked perfectly. Liara was impressed by the ingenuity, patience, and persistence. As the day passed, they encountered minor challenges, navigating unstable terrain, deciphering complex systems, but Liara approached each obstacle with intelligence and creativity. Jason offered guidance, but she solved many problems on her own, earning his admiration. He began to see her not as a princess to be managed, but as a brilliant mind capable of independent thought and leadership. By late afternoon, they reached the edge of the city, where the landscape opened to rolling plains and distant mountains. Zithuria's twin moons glowed softly above, casting a serene light over the world. Liara paused, taking in the view. She felt a sense of possibility she had never known in the palace, a sense that the galaxy was not a cage, but a canvas on which she could paint her own future. Jason watched her quietly. You have courage, he said. Most would never leave the safety of their homes to explore the unknown. You are willing to take risks not for glory but for understanding. That is rare. Only then can I honor both my people and myself. She realized that humans were strong in ways her people often overlooked. Their strength lay not in power or precision, but in spirit, curiosity, and resilience. As night fell, Liara reflected on the day's experiences. She had seen humans in action, learned from their methods, and begun to understand why her people valued a connection with them. But she had also discovered something more important, the power of choice. By deciding to act on her own terms, she had begun to shape her destiny. She turned to Jason. Tomorrow, we continue. I want to learn more to see humans in other environments and to understand how they work with different species. I want to see if an alliance can truly be built on respect and cooperation, not obligation. The path ahead would be challenging, but for the first time she felt the excitement of genuine possibility. She was no longer merely a princess destined for an arranged marriage. She was an explorer, a learner, and a force capable of shaping her world. The stars above shimmered, and Zithuria lay silent beneath their light. Liara knew that the council would soon search for her, that her actions would stir concern and perhaps anger. Yet she did not fear them. She had Jason by her side, knowledge at her fingertips, and the determination to pursue truth and understanding. This journey was only beginning, and already it was changing her in ways she could not have imagined. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders, dangers, and opportunities. Liara stepped forward with courage and curiosity, ready to explore not only the universe but also the potential of humans, Zithurians, and the alliance they might build together. The future was uncertain, but for the first time it felt like her own. The morning light crept over Zithuria, painting the city in soft shades of gold and violet. Princess Liara had spent the night in a small human outpost, sleeping on a modest cot while the hum of alien machinery filled the room. She had never imagined herself so far from the palace, so far from the rigid rules and constant watchfulness that had defined her life. Yet she felt alive in a way she had never felt before. Freedom, she realized, was not merely the absence of walls. It was the power to make choices, to explore, and to learn without fear of judgment. Jason had prepared a small breakfast, simple and nourishing, and Liara ate quickly, eager to begin the day's journey. Today, they would travel beyond the city, into the plains and forests that stretched toward the mountains. Humans and Zithurians had established joint research stations there, studying the ecology and resources of the region. It was a place of learning, experimentation, and collaboration, exactly what Liara wanted to see. As they set out, Liara noticed how different the journey felt from anything she had experienced in the palace. There were no attendants to carry her belongings, no advisors to guide her every step. She carried only what she needed and relied on her own instincts and intelligence to navigate the terrain. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying unfamiliar scents and sounds. Birds with luminous feathers flitted above them, and small creatures with 6 legs scurried across the underbrush. Liara's eyes shone with wonder. This world was alive, and she was finally part of it. Jason walked beside her, observing her reactions. "You notice everything," he said with a smile. "Most humans would barely pay attention to the details, but you—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "You see the world like a scholar and an explorer at the same time." A shallow river ran through the valley, its waters murky from upstream sediments. The engineers had designed a device that could filter the water using energy from the sun, converting it into clean, drinkable water. Zithurian scientists assisted with technical adjustments, combining their advanced knowledge with human innovation. Liara knelt beside the engineers, examining the device. "Why use both solar and mechanical filters?" she asked. A human engineer looked at her, surprised. "Because redundancy ensures success. The sun provides energy when it's available, but the mechanical system works at night or during cloudy weather. Together, they create a more reliable system. You adapt to conditions, using multiple approaches to achieve the goal. Observation must lead to understanding, and understanding to action." As the day progressed, they moved deeper into the forest. The terrain became more challenging, with uneven ground, tangled roots, and dense foliage. Liara navigated with precision, reading the patterns of the land and predicting where hidden dangers might lie. They encountered a small group of Zithurian scouts who had been searching for her, but she used clever diversion techniques, leading the scouts away without confrontation. Jason marveled at her resourcefulness. "You have a natural ability to think ahead. You anticipate, adapt, and act with confidence. Most humans, or even Zithurians, would panic in this situation." Panic is wasted energy. Observation and planning are the tools of survival. Fear can guide you, but only if it is paired with action. In the valley below, humans and Zithurians worked together, building research stations, tending to crops, and studying wildlife. Liara observed the collaboration with fascination. Here, humans were not fragile. They were creative, adaptable, and willing to learn from others. Zithurians, in turn, benefited from human perspectives, discovering new ways to approach problems. "I see now why my father values humans," Liara said quietly. "Their strength is not in force, but in flexibility. They create solutions where others see obstacles. They learn quickly and apply knowledge in ways Zithurians might overlook. Cooperation cannot be forced. It must be earned through trust and respect." She felt a growing respect for humans, not only for their ingenuity, but for their ability to navigate uncertainty with grace. As they descended into the valley, they joined a group of humans and Zithurians studying local wildlife. A small creature, no larger than a rabbit, scurried among the plants. Its body glowed faintly, reacting to the environment in ways that humans were documenting for research. Liara knelt, observing its movements with careful attention. "Why does it glow?" she asked one of the human researchers. "Bioluminescence," the researcher explained. "It's a natural adaptation, probably for communication or camouflage. We're still learning." It is remarkable. Even the smallest life forms adapt to survive. Humans, too, seem to have learned from these lessons, adapting, creating, and thriving despite limitations. She quickly earned their respect, not through her title, but through her intelligence and willingness to participate fully. Jason watched her with quiet admiration. He had expected the princess to be curious, but the depth of her insight and the ease with which she integrated knowledge surprised him. As the sun began to set, they reached a small clearing where they set up camp for the night. Humans built a modest fire, Zithurians provided protective barriers, and Liara took a moment to reflect on the day. She had learned more in these hours than she had in years within the palace. She had witnessed collaboration, adaptation, and resilience firsthand. Humans were not fragile. They were capable, clever, and full of potential. And she realized that her mission was no longer merely about understanding humans. It was about understanding how to unite different species for mutual benefit. Jason approached her as she sat quietly, watching the firelight dance across the valley. "You have changed since this morning," he said softly. "You see the world differently, and I think it has changed you. I understand now that strength is not always obvious. Humans have a quiet power, a determination and creativity that allows them to survive and thrive. I respect that, and I want to see how we can work together, not as ruler and subject, but as equals. If we can build that, there is nothing we cannot achieve together." She had taken control of her life, embraced the unknown, and begun to see the potential of a future shaped by choice rather than obligation. As she lay on her cot, listening to the gentle hum of alien machinery and the distant sounds of wildlife, she thought of her father, the council, and the palace she had left behind. She knew they would search for her, question her actions, and perhaps even condemn her choices. Yet she felt no fear. She had discovered something far more valuable than approval or compliance. She had discovered her own agency, her own courage, and the limitless potential of humans and Zithurians working together. Liara closed her eyes, imagining the journey ahead. Tomorrow they would travel further, visit new outposts, and face challenges that would test their intelligence, creativity, and trust in one another. She was ready. For the first time in her life, she felt the true excitement of exploration, the thrill of discovery, and the promise of a future built on respect and understanding. The valley lay quiet beneath the stars, but Liara's mind buzzed with possibilities. She had taken the first steps toward changing not only her own fate, but the relationship between Zithuria and Earth. And as the night carried on, she knew that the journey had only just begun. The universe was vast, full of wonders and challenges, and she would face them with courage, curiosity, and the unwavering belief that choice and understanding could create a better future for all. In that moment, Liara realized that her rebellion was not just against tradition. It was a declaration of hope. Humans had shown her a world of possibilities, and she would ensure that Zithurians saw it too. She would prove that alliances could be built on respect, intelligence, and creativity, rather than force or obligation. And in doing so, she would honor both her people and herself, forging a path that no one could dictate and no one could take away. The morning sun rose over the valley, casting warm light on the camp where Princess Liara and Jason had spent the night. Birds with bright feathers flitted between the trees, their songs echoing across the forest. Liara stretched, feeling a deep sense of energy and purpose. She had learned so much during the past days, about humans, about Zithurians, and most importantly, about herself. Yet she knew the most challenging part of her journey was still ahead, returning to the palace not as a frightened princess obeying orders, but as a leader with her own vision. Jason handed her a simple breakfast of fruit and protein bars. "You seem ready today," he said. "Are you certain about confronting the council? I want them to understand that a forced marriage is not the path to strength or respect. It is time to speak openly and show them a better way." She moved with purpose, using the knowledge she had gained from her travels to anticipate and avoid potential obstacles. Jason walked beside her, offering guidance when needed, but allowing Liara to make her own decisions. It was clear to him that she had grown in confidence and skill. This was no longer the sheltered princess who had once reluctantly accepted her father's orders. As they approached the palace gates, Liara paused, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. The grandeur of the palace with its soaring towers and crystalline walls once filled her with awe. Now it seemed like a cage she had chosen to leave. She took a deep breath, remembering the lessons of the past days. Courage, intelligence, and respect could achieve more than fear or obedience. With determination, she stepped forward, Jason following closely behind. Inside the council chamber, the members were already assembled. King Alurin sat at the center, his expression a mixture of worry and authority. When Liara entered, a hush fell over the room. She noticed the surprise in their eyes, but she did not falter. She stood tall, her gaze steady and confident, and addressed the council with clarity and conviction. "Father, members of the council," she began, "I have traveled beyond the palace and observed humans and their ways. I have seen how they think, how they solve problems, and how they work together with other species. I understand now why you value a connection with them. But I also understand that a forced marriage is not the way to create strength, respect, or lasting alliances. Do you not understand the gravity of your actions? Only then can we achieve greatness together. I have seen humans adapt to challenges that Zethurians might not anticipate. They solve problems with creativity, perseverance, and collaboration. I have observed them working alongside Zethurians, learning from us while teaching us new ways to approach the world. Their strength lies in their intelligence, courage, and ability to adapt. I have seen it firsthand. Humans value choice and understanding, and when combined with Zethurian knowledge and technology, we can achieve outcomes that neither species could accomplish alone. Tradition dictates that marriage is the symbol of trust between species. Let our union be defined not by obligation, but by achievement and understanding. Only then will our alliance be truly meaningful and enduring." She had learned from humans, understood their strengths, and found a path that honored both her people and herself. "You speak with wisdom, Liara," he said slowly. "Perhaps I have underestimated your ability to navigate the challenges of leadership, yet the Council and I must be certain. If you are to pursue this path, you must lead a mission that demonstrates the potential of cooperation between humans and Zethurians. Princess Liara has the intelligence, courage, and determination to lead this alliance. I will do everything I can to assist her, not as a ruler or subject, but as a partner in understanding and achievement." Some expressed concern about tradition, others about security, but the evidence Liara and Jason presented could not be ignored. Slowly, a consensus began to form. The idea of a new type of alliance, one based on cooperation, understanding, and mutual respect, resonated with those who had witnessed her growth and determination. By midday, the council reached a decision. They would approve a trial alliance led by Princess Liara to explore new regions and establish collaborative projects with humans. The union would not be forced, and the emphasis would be on partnership, learning, and shared goals. Liara felt a surge of pride and relief. She had not only defended her own freedom, but had also created a path for her people to interact with humans in a meaningful and productive way. Preparations for the mission began immediately. Liara worked closely with both Zethurian and human teams, designing objectives, selecting crew members, and planning logistics. Jason provided insight into human culture and methods, while Liara contributed her knowledge of Zethurian technology and strategy. Together, they created a plan that balanced innovation with safety, creativity with precision. As the days passed, Liara continued to impress everyone with her leadership. She listened carefully, made decisions thoughtfully, and encouraged collaboration among the team. Humans and Zethurians began to work together more smoothly than ever before, inspired by the example set by the princess. Liara realized that leadership was not about asserting authority. It was about fostering trust, understanding, and shared purpose. During a strategy meeting, a junior Zethurian scientist expressed doubt about the human's ability to handle complex tasks. Liara addressed him calmly but firmly. "Humans have demonstrated remarkable problem-solving skills. Underestimating them limits our potential. Trust, guidance, and cooperation will allow all of us to achieve more than we could alone. Respect and collaboration are stronger than control and doubt." By evening, Liara stood at the edge of the palace gardens, watching the twin moons rise above the city. The council had accepted her proposal, the human and Zethurian teams were prepared, and a new era of cooperation was about to begin. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that she had shaped the future not through fear or obedience, but through courage, intelligence, and respect. Jason joined her, carrying a simple tray of refreshments. "You have done something extraordinary," he said. "You have not only challenged tradition but shown a new way forward. Humans and Zethurians can learn much from each other because of you. Cooperation, understanding, and respect will guide us. If we succeed, the alliance will be stronger than any decree or tradition could create." She had demonstrated that humans were capable of great strength and ingenuity, and she had shown that Zethurians could embrace new ways of thinking. As she looked up at the stars, Liara felt a deep sense of connection to her people, to humans, and to the universe itself. She had taken control of her destiny, forging a path built on choice and courage. The alliance she would lead was not just political. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when beings from different worlds worked together in mutual respect. And so, Princess Liara prepared for the mission ahead. She would journey into the unknown, facing challenges that would test her intelligence, creativity, and leadership. Yet she felt ready, confident that humans and Zethurians could achieve greatness together. The path was uncertain, but it was hers to walk, guided by curiosity, courage, and the unwavering belief that understanding and cooperation could shape a better future. The stars above shimmered with promise, and the twin moons of Zethuria cast a gentle glow over the city. Liara knew that tomorrow, the mission would begin, and the alliance she had envisioned would be tested in the vastness of the galaxy. She was no longer a princess constrained by tradition. She was a leader, an explorer, and a bridge between worlds. And with that realization, she felt the thrill of possibility and the power of choice more deeply than ever before. The first rays of the twin suns fell across the valley as Princess Liara stood at the edge of the launch platform. The new mission was about to begin, a journey that would test her leadership, the cooperation between humans and Zethurians, and the possibility of a future built on understanding rather than obligation. She looked over the assembled team, humans and Zethurians working side by side, checking equipment, calibrating systems, and preparing for the unknown. Each individual reflected the potential of collaboration, the proof that respect and shared purpose could create something greater than either species alone. Jason approached her, carrying a data pad with mission updates. "All systems are operational," he said. "Supplies are loaded, communications are secure, and the research teams are ready. You have built a capable alliance, Princess. Now it is time to see what it can accomplish." The engines hummed, generating a soft vibration through the platform. Liara took her seat alongside Jason, who glanced at her with a smile that conveyed trust and partnership. The countdown began, and within moments the vessels lifted smoothly into the sky, ascending beyond the city and into the expanse of space. As they traveled, Liara reviewed the mission objectives. They would visit several newly discovered star systems, study potential resources, and establish research outposts that humans and Zethurians could manage together. It was a delicate task, requiring diplomacy, problem-solving, and adaptability. Liara felt a sense of anticipation. This was more than a test of leadership. It was a chance to prove that choice, intelligence, and cooperation could achieve remarkable outcomes. The first stop was a small planet with a thin atmosphere and rich mineral deposits. The surface was rocky, dotted with strange vegetation that shimmered under the sun. The team disembarked, wearing adaptive suits that allowed them to move freely while maintaining life support. Humans and Zethurians paired off, sharing tasks and exchanging knowledge. Liara observed closely, stepping in when necessary to offer insight or guidance, but mostly allowing the team to collaborate independently. She was impressed by what she saw. Humans, with their creativity and adaptability, approached challenges in ways that Zethurians might not consider. They experimented with tools, modified techniques on the fly, and communicated openly about successes and failures. Zethurians, with their precision and technical expertise, provided structure and careful calculations, ensuring safety and efficiency. The combination was powerful, producing results that neither species could achieve alone. Jason joined her at the edge of a small cliff overlooking a mineral-rich canyon. "Look at them," he said. "They are learning from each other, adapting and creating solutions together. This is exactly what you hoped for." Humans and Zethurians are discovering new ways to work together because we approached this not with obligation, but with respect and curiosity. That is the difference. They face challenges, Unexpected weather shifts, unfamiliar terrain, and equipment malfunctions, but each obstacle became an opportunity for collaboration. Liara encouraged dialogue, reminding the team to trust each other and combine their strengths. By evening, they gathered in a small clearing, sharing meals and stories around a portable fire that emitted soft light. Humans spoke of their home worlds, their struggles, and the lessons they had learned from survival and exploration. Zithurians shared their knowledge of technology, strategy, and history. Liara listened attentively, asking questions and reflecting on the insights. She realized that understanding was not just about observation. It was about communication, respect, and the willingness to learn from others. During the night, Liara walked to the edge of the clearing, gazing at the stars above. The sky was vast, filled with countless points of light, each a possibility, a challenge, a future waiting to be discovered. She thought of her father, the council, and the palace she had left behind. She had defied tradition, challenged expectations, and proven that courage and intelligence could shape destiny. And yet, the journey was only beginning. The following days brought new worlds, each with unique environments and challenges. On one planet, the atmosphere was dense and humid, with enormous, bioluminescent plants that moved gently with the wind. Humans experimented with energy-harvesting devices, while Zithurians analyzed soil composition and structural stability. Together, they constructed platforms that collected energy efficiently, learning from one another's strengths. Liara observed quietly, occasionally offering guidance, but mostly letting the team find solutions together. On another planet, a series of natural caves contained rare minerals essential for future construction projects. Navigating the caves required both human intuition and Zithurian calculation. The humans spotted unusual rock formations and suggested alternative paths, while Zithurians ensured safety and precision. Liara coordinated the efforts, ensuring that communication flowed freely between the two groups. The result was seamless teamwork, producing results that neither species could have achieved alone. Throughout the mission, Liara noticed a remarkable transformation, not just in the humans and Zithurians, but in herself. She had grown from a princess bound by tradition into a leader capable of guiding diverse teams through complex challenges. She understood that leadership was not about authority or power, but about listening, encouraging, and creating an environment where everyone could contribute. She felt proud, not for herself alone, but for what her people had accomplished together. One afternoon, as they set up a research station on a planet with vast oceans, a minor crisis arose. A sudden storm threatened the equipment and supplies. Humans and Zithurians immediately sprang into action, using their combined skills to secure the site. Liara coordinated their efforts, suggesting adjustments and strategies that minimized risk and ensured efficiency. Within hours, the storm passed, and the team had not only protected the station but improved its design for future use. Jason approached her afterward. "You see what happens when trust and cooperation guide action. Humans and Zithurians together can handle challenges that would overwhelm either group alone. If our people continue to work together in this way, we can achieve greatness beyond what tradition or fear could ever allow." The council, initially skeptical, began to recognize the value of Liara's approach. Even the most conservative members acknowledged that forced tradition had given way to a model that demonstrated intelligence, courage, and respect. During a rest period on one of the planets, Liara gathered the team together. She addressed them with a quiet confidence that inspired everyone present. "This mission is more than exploration or research," she said. "It is a proof that understanding and cooperation are stronger than fear and obligation. Humans and Zithurians working together can achieve anything we imagine. Trust, respect, and curiosity will guide us, not rules or tradition." Humans and Zithurians had faced challenges together, learned from one another, and discovered solutions beyond their individual capabilities. Liara had led them not by command, but by example, demonstrating the power of choice, intelligence, and collaboration. At the end of the mission, the vessels returned to Zithuria. The landing was met with celebration, as both humans and Zithurians marveled at what had been accomplished. The alliance had proven its potential, demonstrating that cooperation based on respect and understanding could achieve remarkable results. Liara and Jason stood together, watching the celebrations, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. King Alurin approached his daughter, his eyes filled with pride. "Liara, you have done more than I could have imagined. You have led a mission that proves the value of humans, the potential of cooperation, and the strength of choice. You have shown wisdom and courage beyond your years. Humans have much to offer, and we have much to learn from one another. Together, we can create an alliance built on trust, respect, and shared goals. That is how we will achieve greatness. This alliance is just the beginning. As the twin suns set over the city, Liara stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out at a world transformed by intelligence, courage, and choice. The stars above shimmered like distant promises, and she knew that the future was wide open, full of discovery, learning, and achievement. Humans and Zethurians had proven that by working together, they could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and reach heights neither could achieve alone. Liara realized that the true strength of humanity lay not in power or technology, but in spirit, creativity, and adaptability. She had witnessed it firsthand, and she had led by example, showing that courage, intelligence, and respect could create alliances stronger than tradition alone. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and possibilities, and she felt ready to explore it, not as a princess bound by duty, but as a leader, a learner, and a bridge between worlds. The story of Liara's mission spread across Zithuria and human colonies, inspiring new generations to embrace curiosity, courage, and cooperation. Young humans and Zithurians alike began to see that strength was not measured by force or obedience, but by intelligence, adaptability, and the willingness to learn from one another. Liara had created a model for the future, one where choice, respect, and shared goals formed the foundation of lasting alliances. And as night fell with stars twinkling across the endless sky, Liara felt a sense of fulfillment and hope. She had refused a path that was chosen for her, embraced the unknown, and discovered that humans were capable of greatness. She had forged an alliance built on understanding, respect, and shared purpose, proving that courage, intelligence, and choice could shape the future. The galaxy awaited, full of challenges and opportunities, and Princess Liara was ready. She had discovered the power of cooperation, the value of human ingenuity, and the strength that comes from forging one's own path. And in that knowledge, she found the greatest triumph of all, the triumph of freedom, understanding, and hope.